Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for joining me today for Totara Kineo office hours. A little bit about myself. My name is Taylor Craig and I am the platform's consultant here at Kineo. What that means is I am a trainer of all things Totara. I get the opportunity to travel on site to work with some of our existing clients. I get to work with those clients as well online. I work very closely as a part of our implementation team and very closely with our excellent solution architects here to help them train the solution that they put into place for our clients. So we like to make sure that you guys are set up and ready to go from the beginning. And so that's where our solution architects and myself come in. We make sure that you guys are taken care of. So I'm glad to be here today to tell you a little bit about office hours and appraisals is what we're going to be talking about today. A little bit about office hours, our typical housekeeping stuff. These are available only to our clients as far as the 45 minutes of open floor questions and discussion. So come and bring me all of your questions. No questions too big, no questions too small. If I don't know the answer, I'm guarantee you I know somebody who does, and I will hunt them down until I get that answer from them. We do a 15-minute feature presentation that we post up there on YouTube for you to watch for future reference, as well as anyone else who may be interested. If you have an idea for a session, please submit one. I would love to get your ideas, and we will make sure to cover that topic at some point during this year's office hours sessions. There's a link here. I will also post it in the YouTube so that you can provide me with any suggestions from there. And then also it's in the email for your invitation that you receive every week. So please go ahead and submit those office hours ideas. I would love to hear them. So today we are going to talk about the appraisal feature. A lot of people don't realize that this feature is available already on your site. I worked with a client actually today who didn't realize it was already on their 2.5 instance. We turned that on and we kind of played around with it as well. So the appraisal activity is actually a system level activity. So if you're not seeing it, then it's something that you may have to turn on, and I will be sure to show you where to do that. And then how do you set one up? We're going to cover that today. We're going to look at that. There's also a link right here, help.totaralms.com/manage_appraisals. I will also post that link to the YouTube as well so that you have access to that as well. So enough of that boring slideshow. Let's actually dig in and see how this works. So what we're going to be looking at today is going to be a system-wide appraisal that has been assigned to my frontline manager employees, so all of my frontline employees. It's been assigned there, and it's going to be an employee evaluation. Scott McCoy here is the manager of these individuals, and then on Firefox, on this screen, we have Phyllis Barnes. She is an employee who works for Scott McCoy, and he will be evaluating her. How this appraisal works, however, is Phyllis has to evaluate herself first. So let's take a look. We do see an appraisals tab up here at the top. If you don't see that or your learners don't see it, there could be a couple of reasons. First reason, you may not have appraisals turned on. Second reason, if you don't have an appraisal assigned to you, you're not going to see it. Or if you don't have a direct report that has an appraisal assigned to them, you're also not going to see that tab. That tab is going to be contextual, and it is only available to those who need to see it. Okay, same thing with older versions. Older versions, you didn't have as much control over that main menu tab that we do now in 2.7 and beyond. But in older versions, it would also only appear when relevant. So you'll see here, she has a couple of different drop-downs. She's got latest appraisals and all appraisals. Let's take a look at all appraisals first. Underneath all appraisals, you'll see she's got several different appraisals that were made available to her at one point in time. Now, the dates for these have already passed, so you'll see that they're closed, but we do still have one that is open and active, and the start date was March 2nd, and the end date is June 2nd, so it's going to be open for an extended period of time here. Now, it doesn't have to go until June 2nd before it can close, but Phyllis and her manager need to work together to make sure this happens. So we're going to go in here to employee evaluation. The cool thing about appraisals is you have the ability to set up stages. Now, everything that you're seeing in this particular appraisal, I have set up just by typing and keying it in. So it's not something that's canned. It's not something that just has all this stuff in it. You have the ability to adjust those settings to fit you and fit your situation. So you don't have to use this for an employee evaluation. You can use it to have people prove that they've read a document. You can have it to have people assess anything or work with their manager specifically, like we are in this case. So first things first, they see the self-evaluation. Couple of things I want to point out. We have a complete by date, a suggested complete by date. We show that it is currently in progress because she has now clicked on it. And you see that she is seeing you must complete this stage. We see here your manager must complete this stage. And then we see on the sign-off, you must complete this and your manager must also complete this. So both of you have to complete it. So that is kind of what's really neat about this, and we'll take a look as an administrator here in just a minute. So we see a start button from Phyllis's perspective. Let's look from Scott's perspective real quick. If we go to appraisal, all appraisals, you see here that Scott has lots of different appraisals that some are closed, some are completed, these are still active. So he sees that he needs to come in here and he needs to evaluate Phyllis. So he finds Phyllis and clicks on Employee Evaluation. So under this, he sees a View button. Phyllis saw a Start button. So they're seeing two different things. So I'm back in as Phyllis. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to self-evaluate ourselves. So we're going to click Start. In this particular example, we are using a slide scale. So we've keyed in all of these different things, and Phyllis is having to rate herself and tell her manager how she feels about this. Now you're going to notice it says on here that this is also visible to the manager. So the manager is going to be able to see Phyllis's response. So she's got a couple of options now. She can complete this stage by clicking here or here. She can save her progress and come back at a later time, or she can just go straight back into the appraisal and not complete it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to complete that stage. So when she has completed it, she gets a nice, neat little check mark. She gets a check mark here showing that she has completed the stage. And also the next part of the appraisal becomes available. So she can click to view, and she can actually view what the manager's about to do. And you'll see here, she doesn't have the ability to answer, but I see that my manager hasn't answered it yet. But I'm seeing that my manager's having to answer the same questions about me. So let's take a look from Scott's perspective, and he's the manager. We're going to refresh Scott's screen because we want him to see this in real time. So we've refreshed his screen. So what he has the ability to do at this point is he can either go in and immediately evaluate Phyllis, or he can come in here and he can take a look and he can view how Phyllis has rated herself. So he can see, okay, so this is how she feels about herself. And now he can either go evaluate your direct report. This is going to take us to the exact same place. Or he can go back to the appraisal and he can click this Start button. So you'll see here it just brought us down to this next stage. We've got these tabs along the side. And he can also rate Phyllis. Now, in this particular case, we're using a slide scale. We've got a couple of clients who really like using this slide scale, and the reason for that is because in some cases, you're actually evaluating employees on site as they're performing a task. And in that case, you may have that manager or whomever's evaluating them and appraising them, you may have them just standing there holding an iPad and sliding that scale as they're moving through. So definitely something that's available. And we've got some people utilizing that. You'll also see here that we've added in an additional question for the manager where he can actually provide some additional comments and feedback and other information. Okay, so he can provide some additional information and he can go ahead and he can complete that stage. Okay, so we see that he has now evaluated Phyllis and we see that it is now moving on to the sign-off stage. So he can come in here and he can click Start for the sign-off stage. He sees that the learner hasn't answered, and then he has the ability to say, to check this off and say, I have actually met with my direct report. We've had a sit-down meeting. We've met. We've talked about this. We've discussed it, and we agree on our ratings and we agree on where we are. So he can rate this and then complete the stage. We can jump back in as Phyllis, and now she can refresh. She now sees, it actually took me straight to the agreement, but I can jump back in and see how my manager evaluated me. I see that he misspelled my name, so he's apparently not paying too much attention. But we can come here, we can go to the agreement tab, and now she sees that her manager has already gone ahead and he's said that we've met and we're okay with it. And she can determine if she's okay with it or not and also set her date. Again, these are all fields and information that we've just placed in to fit our particular situation. So you don't have to have it exactly like we have it. Okay, so we see now that this appraisal was completed on March 3rd, and then she does have the ability to print this and actually have all of her information. So she can actually leave space for write out, and then I'm going to say print now just so you can see the preview. So we'll slide this up here, and you see we've got a nice little preview here of kind of what this would look like, and it's basically gives you a hard copy of this as well. Okay, so that is going to be what it looks like from their point of view and their perspective. Now, if I go in as a site administrator, I have some reports that I can view. So I'm going to access this report. There's a couple of ways to access this report. You can go to it through the report builder like you're probably used to doing inside of Totara, or you can go over here underneath Site Administration, Appraisals, and Reports. Okay, and at this point what it's going to do is it's going to show me all of my active appraisals and everything that's currently on and working on my site. And I see where my people are. So I'm really more concerned about this one here, the employee evaluation. And I see that I have 0 currently overdue. There's 213 total that are out there and floating around. I've got 0 that have been canceled, and I've got 3 that are complete. So I can click on that 3. And that's going to show me exactly who the individuals are that are complete. We've got it set where it's showing us the position of those individuals, the organization, their manager, and the current stage, and the stage time and completed, as well as the status. So that's one way to look at it. I also have the ability to do a status report. So this is going to show me all those 216. And then we have our filters up here, and we can filter by manager, we can filter by dates, we can filter by a lot of different things. And then as you know from some of our other sessions on reporting, you can actually get in there and you can change those filters as an admin. So edit this report. You can also edit those columns. So you can really, really filter this down just like you can any other report inside of Totara. Okay? And then let's also take a look at our detail report. The detail report is going to show you exactly kind of what's happening here. It's going to show you the manager, the complete status, and it's going to show us all these ratings, how the learner rated themselves, how the manager rated them, and it's going to show any of the additional comments, and then also that people have agreed and all that great stuff, everything that's part of it. Okay, so that is an overview of kind of what they look like once they're complete. But how in the world do we actually get these into our system? I'm not seeing them on my site, right? So if you're not seeing them on your site, what you need to do is come in here and go to Site Administration, Advanced Features. That's going to be your first step. And instead of scrolling around here, I'm going to do a control find, and I'm going to type in appraisal. There we go. So there are 2 settings that actually apply to appraisals. We have enable appraisals. If yours is showing disable or hide, that's part of the reason you're not seeing it. So switch that over to show. And then the other one is going to be dynamic appraisals. You do, in fact, probably do want to go ahead and turn that on. If you're using an older version than 2.7, you're not going to see that checkbox more than likely because that is a newer feature to appraisals. And basically what this does is it keeps the user and their manager up to date. So if Phyllis's manager changed from Scott to John Smith, then what you would see happen is you would actually see John Smith in the report moving forward. And in older versions, you didn't see that. Okay, it wouldn't update, it wouldn't keep up with that kind of stuff. So in other words, if you had an appraisal that was due during the middle and Scott never got to it and somebody took his place as Phyllis's manager, Phyllis may not get evaluated because of the old way that appraisals functioned. But thanks to dynamic appraisals, we can now handle that situation. Okay, so keep that in mind. Once you've turned them on, what you would do is you'd come in here, you go to Appraisals, Manage Appraisals. And then at this point, you can create an appraisal. I already have one created. I've already built one out. We've already done all the settings for it. So I'm going to come in and take a look at this. So you have 4 columns or 4 tabs here. You've got your General tab, which is kind of the explanation and the name of that. Then you have your Content tab. So this is where you're building in stages. So you don't have to have more than one stage. In our case, we wanted a specific workflow, so we added stages. So in that way, we were able to say the learner's the one that has to answer in the first stage. The manager can see it. The manager has to view in the second stage, but the learner can see it. And then on the sign-off stage, we want both of them to be able to be active participants. So hopefully this will help you to kind of understand where we got that workflow. Now we see roles that can answer and roles that can view. Where that is coming from is going to be on a per question basis. So inside of these questions, if I take a look inside of this question, you see that you have particular permissions. So we've said that the learner has to answer, but the manager has to be able to view. So we have checked the box for view. So once you do this on every question, it's then going to determine for that stage as a whole who has the ability to do what. Okay, so that's how that's going to work. In this case, we have 1 page per stage, but you can have multiple pages inside of each of these stages. And basically, it kind of gives you some additional workflow there if you need it. Take a quick look here at all of the different types of questions, multiple different types of questions. One of mine that I find very interesting that I like about this is I have a file upload option, as well as a long text, date picker, rating scales. You can put in your own custom scale, which is really, really nice. You can also do some review questions, different things like that, as well as some non-question elements. So you can actually provide to them some fixed text or maybe what a actual screenshot of a document that they need to review, or maybe some information about a document they need to review. So you can provide that information to them and then provide a workflow along with that as far as whether or not they've reviewed it. So really, really nice features that you have here. Then you have your Assignments tab. At this point is when you can actually assign this appraisal out to whomever you want to on your site. So I have the ability to assign to audiences, organizations, and positions on my site. So I can actually assign out to just about anybody on my site here. Then you also have the Messages tab. You can create your own specific messages that go along with these appraisals, and you can set it for to send a particular message after different stages. So upon completion of the self-evaluation stage, or after a complete by date, you can actually send a notification off of these different stages and the different triggers. Okay, so keep that in mind. Once you have got everything set up, what you're going to need to do is go ahead and click that Activate Now link. It's kind of in a weird spot. It's kind of hard to see. But you can go ahead and you can activate that appraisal. Once you've activated an appraisal, you actually don't have the ability to go back in and edit that. So one thing that we like to point out is this Preview Appraisal button. Really a nice feature in the fact that it lets you preview that appraisal from the role of manager's manager, if that's something you're using, as well as the role of appraiser. There's actually an appraiser role out there that you may want to enable on your site as well. So you do have the ability to do that. You can come in here, you can actually participate in this and see how it functions. Some of the buttons don't work, but you do have the ability to at least see what it's going to look like, catch any typos, catch anything like that. Okay, once you're done, activate that appraisal, but make sure you've got your assignments in there. Back to your Manage Appraisals link here. I'm going to jump right back in here to Manage Appraisals. You do have the ability to duplicate these or copy these appraisals. So you do have that functionality as well. All right, guys, I'm going to turn it over to you. Any questions?